remove the wheel, use a 21mm socket. If you have a locking lug nut, you want to take that off before on the ground by hand, and take the other lug nuts off. Remove the wheel. Now we're going to take the caliper bolts off. Use a 14mm wrench and take the bolts off. And if you need to, you can use a pair of pliers or another wrench on the stud or the slide pin to prevent it from spinning. Take those out. You can take a straight blade screwdriver and just pry the caliper over a little bit and slide the caliper off. And use a brake caliper hanger and just hang it from the coil spring. Just make sure there's no tension on the brake hose. Take the brake pads off. Now we want to take the caliper bracket out. Take these two bolts out, use a 17mm socket. And slide the bracket off. Now you want to take the rotor off. If it doesn't slide off, you can take a hammer, give it a couple taps in that area. Just try not to hit the studs. If it doesn't loosen up with that, you can take a bolt, find one that fits the same pitch of this thread. And tighten it down. And then just go back and forth. There you go. Slide the rotor off. And just take a wire brush and clean up the hub surface. There's going to be a little bit of rust on there. Or you can use a die grinder. Just be careful, don't take off too much material. Now just take a little bit of anti-seize. You can use some spray or just the stuff that you paint on. That's good. Now just put this on backwards first. Take a little brake parts cleaner. Spray it down and wipe it off. And flip it around. You can use a lug nut to hold this on. It just makes installing it a little bit easier. And spray this side down. And wipe it down. Now let's clean up the brake caliper bracket. Just take a screwdriver, straight head screwdriver, and take these caliper slides off or anti-rattle clips off, and just clean up right in this area right here. This caliper bracket's pretty clean, but there could be some rust and some buildup right there. So use a wire brush, just clean this up. Take a thin coat of brake caliper grease and take the new anti-rattle clip, put that in position, and just another thin coat of grease. Do the same on the other side. Now take the caliper slide pins out. You can use pliers if you need to. Just pull that out. Take a little brake parts cleaner. Spray this down and wipe it off. If you have a wire brush, you can clean out the bore of the caliper and then take a little more brake caliper grease. Put it on the pin, slide it in, and make sure it seals on the boot, and do the same on the other one. Now slide the bracket over the rotor, put the bolts in, get them started. Torque these two bolts to 79 foot-pounds. Now install the brake pads, and there's some brake warning indicators you have to install on the pads. They just line up on the side right here, just like that. So it should look like that coming out on the top side of the brake pad, and you want that at the top side so the rotor cuts into that So do that on the outside and on the inside. Take the brake caliper off the hanger. And you want to compress the brake caliper piston. You can use a brake caliper compressing tool and go nice and slow. As you compress the caliper piston, it's pushing fluid through the brake hoses, through the lines, back up into the master cylinder reservoir. Just go nice and slow. Now make sure the hose isn't twisted and slide this over the brake pads. Take the bolts, get those started. Now I'm going to hold the pin from spinning just with some pliers. If you have a wrench that fits, you can use that too. And torque this bolt to 25 foot-pounds. Same with the upper one. At this point, you can take this lug nut off. Put the wheel up. And put the lug nuts on. Now torque the lug nuts to 77 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Just go around again, double check. Now make sure you pump the brake pedal nice and slow. It may go to the floor. And once it feels good, that feels pretty good. And double check the fluid level under the hood and adjust accordingly.